And what happened after that?
Yeah, so I took them up on their offer, and I did the one-on-one consult with them to see if we would be able to play the points game according to how they play it. And they said yes. So we signed up for the year, and we've been working with them, and we've gotten several trips paid for, several parts of different trips paid for, all in points, all using money we were already spending. It was just making the pivot
Wow.
to the right credit cards, earning the right points on the right charges and things like that. So yeah.
Good for you. Okay, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that you signed up with him. So,
Yeah.
um, basically for anybody on here that what she's talking about is we've got a good friend of ours and colleague. His name is Eli, the travel guy. You can look him up on Instagram, and sometimes we have guest speakers come in. Becky, I know you're new. I'm gonna introduce you here in a second. Don't worry. But sometimes we have some really awesome guest speakers come in, and Eli was one of them. And the recording is available in Circle. So Becky, I know you're still learning, getting onboarded here, but that recording is available in Circle. I think it was like last summer. Becca, maybe one where when I'm teaching here, just find if you want to find the link or at least the date. So people can go back and listen to that. But he basically just teaches you how to optimize your credit card points and get travel paid for free. And he's got one of his ads, I think it's on Facebook that runs, and he's literally in the shower on one of the planes going overseas. And he's like, yeah, this is a $10,000 flight. And then I'm showering on and it was all free. I'm like, what a great ad, but great human being. We're trying to get him to come back in soon here to guest speak. But anyways, just that's awesome, Aaron. Thank you for being willing to share that last week and just proud of you for implementing. With an espresso martini. I forgot about that. He's in the shower. He's hilarious. He's such a good dude. But anyways, okay. So let's do this really quickly. So it looks like a little bit of a smaller group today, which is awesome. We can have some time for Q&A at the end. I am going to go through my lesson plan now, Aaron, now that people have hopped on. And so real quick to introduce Becky. Becky Clark has recently just joined us and had a meeting with Aaron Lenahan last week. And I got the most excited message from Aaron Lenahan afterwards. He was like, she found us doing that a couple of days ago. He was talking a million miles per minute. Like she just hopped on a call with me. She was so awesome. I got to talk to her husband and tell him my testimony as well. And like they're just such great people. And so, Becky, we're just super excited to have you here. Welcome to the family.
Hey, thank you for the book. I had an Amazon show up
Yeah.
yesterday and I was like, I didn't order any Amazon. So very grateful. Thank you.
Of course, no worries at all. And today's actually going to kind of align with that book a decent amount. And you'll see a lot about our philosophy here today. Like we say at JFF, we teach finances in two buckets, right? Like the internal world, right? And then the strategies and systems, right? Like how to budget, how to save more money, how to invest, how to manage debt, etc. Right? But we found that those are just actions, right? Behaviors when it comes to budgeting, savings, spending, right? It's a big reason why people make a lot of money but don't do great things with it, make a lot of money, don't see a lot with it, because we haven't addressed the beliefs that are behind the behaviors, right? And so that's a little bit of a backstory. I've been in business for now close to 6 years, and years ago when I had one-on-one clients, I'd be like, all right, Brittany wasn't one of those clients, but I'm just going to use her as an example. All right, Britt, over the next 6 months, you should be able to save $10,000, pay off 10K in credit card debt, and invest 5,000. And we'd get to the end of the 6 months, and by the numbers, that should have happened, but it didn't happen. And I'm like, what is going on here, right? And it was just, those are the behaviors that we are hoping to have happen, but we never address the beliefs behind that, right? And so I've found that when you want to get real long-term results with anything in life, but really particularly finances, we have to address the beliefs behind the behaviors. Does that make sense what I'm saying, everyone? All right. And so I don't know who was on last week when Susan Hugart had her last call. Anybody on? Julie, Aaron, you guys on last week, last Thursday? Well, Susan took the last 10 minutes to generously just give us a testimonial about her last 3 years with us. She's been in this program for 3 years, and last week was her last Thursday. And she had just said how her entire life she had always tried so much. I believe Susan's in her 60s, had tried so much, every budgeting app, every spreadsheet, every program, and nothing ever worked. Right. And then finally, when she came to us, things actually really started to work and financial transformation started to happen because we actually addressed the core of the problem, which was the beliefs, excuse me. Right. And so just a beautiful testimonial. And so what I'm going to do here is I was actually helping the marketing team edit content right before this. But there's like this 19-second video that we're posting next week, which I think is just a beautiful precursor for today's lesson. So I'm going to play that and then we're going to get into the lesson. And so the video I'm going to show you, I think, is a much, I think, better articulated way of prefacing the lesson today than I'm doing right now. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to watch that together. And then if I can find the right tab. Okay. Can you all see this right here? You see this video of me holding the microphone? That day they had to rip that microphone. All right, cool. Yeah, I was like, I'm getting way too comfortable with this microphone. I was walking around swinging it. It was, it was a good day. Anyways, all right, I'm gonna play this.
If we can get you feeling better about money, treating your money better, believing better things about money and your ability to acquire it and manage it well and your worthiness of it in totality, I promise you, you're going to see better results in your reality. Because when you start to address things from a belief level is when you start to get real long-term results. If we can...
So I thought that was a great way of breaking down today's lesson. And so some of this is going to be new information for a lot of you. Like maybe the first time you've seen this lesson. Sorry, I was editing them all the way down at the bottom. First time you guys have seen this lesson, Aaron Gallis, I always joke with you, you've been with us forever, so it might be the second or third time. But if it's, or even if you've heard this information in a variation before, like I would challenge you, if you're one of those people, like try to move from intellectualizing this to actually embodying it. It is one thing to understand something, right? It is another thing to actually embody it and actually go out and do it, right? And so, which is a big part of our transformation process. A lot of you guys know Jake, who's my mentor on the personal side of stuff. And when I first started working with him 3 years ago, he's like, you're intellectualizing things great, but we need more time because it's not actually playing out in your life yet as embodiment, right? And so it takes time. So for some people that this may be, the second or third time you've heard me talk about this, I usually, Becky, FYI, like every 6 months, I might recycle a lesson just because, sometimes hearing a really good lesson a second time is better than new information to really help with the embodiment process. And so today, the lesson is called Your Mindset Matters Most, right? And so my objective is to show you how your mindset directly impacts your money, particularly the amount of money you earn and accumulate, right? Again, we are gung-ho on the strategies. We have to budget, have plans together, like the masculine side of things, but that only goes as far as this is what we're talking about here today. You'll never outperform the view you have of something, right? And so we'll talk through the correlation between your abundant mindset and your abundant bank account today, right? And I've noticed this is the biggest needle mover in your finances. I truthfully, like 5 years ago, I was super black and white. An ex-college athlete, came from an old school Italian family. My dad is literally Tony Soprano from The Sopranos, right? Like was raised to be a doctor, super analytical, super black and white. And it was just like this suck it up buttercup type of mentality, right? And I can only get you so far. It served me for the time being, but I realized like at some point I have to address what's going on in here, right? The money's never going to outgrow the steward, and so I've noticed this is our biggest needle mover. Or what I always say, Becky, this is going to be your first of 10,000 times hearing me say this, but your external wealth is just a reflection of your internal wealth. Right? Simply put, if you have scarce, limited, fearful feelings inside of you around money, what do you think your external reality is going to look like? Pretty close representation to that, right? Or like I said earlier, like your beliefs are just a direct correlation to your behaviors. And a piece of scripture that I always hold on to is Romans 12:2, right? It says to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Because transformation in your finances always starts internally, right? Not just tactically. I always use this example as well. Think about us being on fitness and nutrition plans, right? Nothing wrong with that industry, right? In totality, but like you follow that plan for 30, 45, 50, 60 days, and then you fall off, right? Why? Is because those were only meant to manipulate and control the behaviors. No belief level work was ever done, right? And so if your mind isn't built for wealth, no strategy will ever be enough to keep it, right? And strategy gives you direction, but mindset determines your capacity. Your financial life will only rise to the level of what you believe is possible, right? Or you guys have probably seen this on social media before, a little cliche, but they always say wealthy people become wealthy in their mind well before they become wealthy in their bank account. And so just a couple of precursors there, right? And so what we'll do here is first talk about shifting from a scarcity, or what I call a fear mentality, to an abundant or a faith mentality. Understanding what they are first and how they show up is how we're going to generate awareness to then create change. As soon as I learned, actually heard this, especially from a financial standpoint, right? What these actually were, then I could be aware of them, right? It's really hard to create change until we have awareness. And when I teach you about the scarcity mindset here, this is not to judge yourself when these things pop up. Do your best to be a neutral, non-judgmental observer right? As I take you through some of these things, right? When I ask you to assess yourself, my mentor Jake tells me all the time, he's like, make sure you're assessing, but you're not judging, right? And so when it comes to being scarce, right, or having the scarcity mindset, the fear mindset, when it's happening, right, it was literally just happening this morning to me. And I sent Brittany a message. I was like, I'm putting my phone down and I'm going for a walk out in nature, and I'm going to come back with better energy, right? And it's just, I wasn't judging myself. I was like, oh, here I go again. Here I go again, right? No judgment, but here I am. Let me catch myself in the moment, right? And so I'm going to create that awareness of what this actually looks like so we can be that non-judgmental viewer, right, of things to then create awareness, to then create change. All right. So a scarcity mindset, or what I'll call a fear mindset, is a belief that resources are limited and that there isn't enough to go around. As a result, you're constantly worried about money. Right. That's how I grew up, and my parents sometimes still are. Right. Key characteristics: fear-based thinking is constant worry about running out of money, time, or opportunities. Competition: it feels like someone else's success diminishes your potential. I don't know about you guys, but like this is something that was really popular in my family growing up. Right? I'm like, why does their success matter? Like, how does that dictate us? You know, and we're also short-term focused. I see this a lot of times with business owners, right? Like you're making a lot of short-term survival needs, and all of a sudden a year or two goes by and your business and your finances are just built on a survival mode foundation, right? And so short-term focus is prioritizing immediate survival or gratification over long-term growth. Don't get me wrong. This is probably the thing that I struggle with the most. I'm not, again, also to disclaimer, I'm not sitting here acting like I'm better than anybody else. I know all this because I'm probably struggled with it the most out of anybody on this call. Right. And then risk aversion, right? They're reluctant to invest, to try new things, or step outside of their comfort zone due to fear of failure or loss. Language, right, is using phrases like, I can't afford this, or money doesn't grow on trees, or I'll never get ahead. You know, if you guys know Stephanie Hall, you know, she's got this great quote that words are spells, right? Words are spells. Like you get what you focus on. If you're constantly saying these things, then yeah, you'll probably will be your reality. Or like I said to the group last night on the biblical wealth workshop, I told them, I'm like, you know, people that fight for their limitations, they get to keep them. You know? And so, an example, someone with a scarcity mindset might hoard money out of fear of running out, even if it means missing opportunities to invest and grow and do something that's actually in their best interest. Right? A couple other things. A scarcity mindset can lead to, right, just some characteristics and possibilities. So again, creating awareness and then watch ourselves. Am I doing these things? Great, not judging, but I'm observing so I can start to make change. Hoarding money or even overspending out of fear. Let me explain this one. This is something that I've actually done over the years, because when you grow up in an environment where all you see is paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, all you see is make money and spend it, or if like, which are both, I think, explaining my situation growing up, or like also my parents made a lot of money. I made a lot of money growing up. Back in 2001, when they filed for bankruptcy, I think combined, they were making like $170,000 put together or something crazy like that. Right. That was a lot of money back then. Right? And our expenses were really low. Like we didn't have a huge house. They had basic cars. It's like, what the heck happened? Right. And so anyways, like that taught me that like you make money, you spend it. It's just this paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. It's super cyclical. And so when I started actually making a lot of money, I found myself getting rid of it. Right. I'm like, what the heck happened to all that money? And I was just spending it because my nervous system didn't feel safe with it, because I grew up in financial chaos. So that's how I was wired. Right. And so overspending out of fear, the fear of being, oh God, I don't know what to do with this money. I don't think I can handle that. I'm not used to this. This doesn't feel right. Right. And getting rid of it. And even over time, though, as I got a little bit more creative, I just would tie a pretty bow on it and then call it an investment. Right. But really at the core of it, it was just getting rid of money out of my bank account I had fear around. And then avoiding risk, like investing, even when it leads to growth. Right. I've been there a couple of times with mentors of mine. And, you know, as soon as I talked to Brittany about it and, you know, prayed about it and gotten higher energy, I'm like, oh my God, I was just trying to avoid that investment because I was super fearful. Right. Focused on only surviving rather than thriving, and simply put, just living a lesser life. You guys know how this feels, like just being constantly worried about money. It's like this like cocoon you can't break out of, and it just feels so restricting. And like I use the word icky. Like I just start to get like this icky off feeling when I'm in a scarcity mindset. And that's I try to tell a lot of people that, like, I think a lot of times things come with a physical feeling. Right. And so I know what it physically feels like in my chest or in my body when here I go again. Like in the scarcity mindset, let me hit up Britt, tell her I'm putting my phone down to go for a walk. Right. Type of example there. Right. All right. Again, I know a lot of you guys probably know this and or have heard this, but sometimes hearing it in a particular way, hearing it multiple times, or hearing it correlated directly to finances, right, in a safe environment can really help you jump from the intellectualizing something to embodying it, right? And so the goal would be to jump to an abundant mindset, or what I like to call a faith mindset, right? The Bible says over and over, do not be fearful, be faithful, right? An abundant mindset is a belief that there are enough resources, opportunities, and success to go around for everyone. Right? Key characteristics, optimism, trusting that with effort and strategy, you can always create more. Right? Trusting that with effort, strategy, and faith, you can always create more. Collaboration, this one's huge. Seeing others' success as inspiring and believing in win-win outcomes. Number two, is long-term thinking, willing to make temporary sacrifices for future rewards. This is huge because the time is going to pass either way. It's our decision on how we want to utilize it. Right. And so you're going to have to reflect back on elapsed time in the future, whether we like it or not. And you're just going to ask yourself, hey, was I long-term thinking or short-term thinking? Right. Did I just stack up a whole bunch of scarcity actions? Right. Or did I stack up a whole bunch of faithful actions? And I said to the group last night, I said, if operating out of fear kind of got you here, maybe it's time for a change. All right. And so openness to risk, viewing challenges as opportunities to learn and grow rather than threats, right? Nobody learns when they're comfortable. Nobody learns when they're comfortable, right? So when challenges pop up, it's just a great learning opportunity. And language saying things like, how can I afford this? Or there's always a way forward. Or like you guys have probably heard Brittany say, everything's figure outable, right? And I always just ask myself, why not? Like, how can I do this? Why can't I do this? How can I make this happen? Or like Jake always says too, I've referenced him like 6 times today. We should probably get him to come in and guest speak at this point. But he always says, he's like, instead of focusing on how you're not hitting the problem or instead of how you're not hitting the goal, how about we shift our focus to how we will hit the goal, how we can hit the goal, right? And so an example of this is someone with an abundant mindset invests in personal growth or business because they trust that they can generate more wealth and opportunities through effort and creativity. And so I specifically designed this example because I want to applaud all of you, right? All of you have invested in yourself in multiple different ways, particularly with this program, right? And, I know this ain't no not-for-profit company, right, with the price that we charge for the program, but also at the same time, it's a mass amounts of value if you play your part that massively exceed the price that you pay. And so I'm proud of you all for continuing to invest in yourself, not just money, but the way that you guys show up, right? Week in and week out. I know today I'm talking to a little bit of a smaller group, but still these are some consistent people on here. So keep leading the way and keep coming back. All right. Okay. So an abundance mindset fosters smart financial decisions rooted in confidence, not fear. My favorite type of risk is calculated risk, right? No risk at all is the riskiest strategy of them all, right? Go and Google the top regrets of people on their deathbed. Always the top 3 answers, right? Or I wish I would have taken more risk in life. I wish I would take more risk in life. Belief in your ability to earn more through skills, opportunities, and innovations, right? Jeremy Newsom, who guest speaked a couple of weeks ago, he's got a book that says money grows on trees. And if you think about it, it kind of does, because it's just ideas. It's just ideas. People pay for solutions, right? Especially in the business world, right? There's always an opportunity, right, to continue to earn more and do better. And a healthier relationship with money as a tool to create the life that you want. Simply put, are you controlling your money or is your money controlling you? All right. So quick exercise to shift to abundance, right? Sometimes simple is the best. And I always say simplicity scales, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Sometimes shifting your finances doesn't have to be quantum physics, right? I like to say, one of my favorite quotes is small tweaks crack big safes, right? And so these are very simple, what I'm going to give you here, right? Number 1, ask yourself, what is one thing I'm grateful for today, financial or otherwise? And drop out of your head and into your heart on this one. Like, don't do this as a to-do list. Be genuine, be authentic about this, right? Like, truthfully think, what is one thing I could truthfully be grateful for? And connect to that feeling of it, right? Drop from your head into your body, right? What's one thing I can take advantage of to grow or improve my finances? Another simpler way I ask myself this question is ask myself every morning, I'm like, what's one thing I can do to move my finances forward today? Literally one thing. A lot of times I think the budget's already a given, do my budget for 1 to 3 minutes a day, but I'm like, what's one thing I could do today to move my finances forward? Right? And this shift starts by reframing your thoughts and focusing on what's possible instead of what's lacking. It is almost impossible to do better, attract better, and be blessed with more if we're constantly focusing on the negative and what's lacking. It just doesn't match up. Right? And one of my favorite quotes, again, fourth time I'm mentioning Jake now, is he always gives me this quote. And he's like, if you're going to make up a story, it might as well be one that serves you. Right? Because no matter what, if something hasn't happened yet, we're making up a story. Right? We're making up a story about what's going to happen, what's possible. It's like, if you're going to make up a story, it might as well be one that serves you. And there's literally statistics to show that 95% of the thoughts, particularly fear-based thoughts that we have each day, don't ever end up coming to fruition. Right. Right. So a few more abundant practices, right? Celebrate wins, both yours and others. It trains your brain to focus on possibilities, not limits. I'm a type 1 individual. I swear 10 things could go right today. 10 things could happen today. 9 of them could go right. And the one thing that goes wrong, I have no idea why, but it constantly overshadows the other 9 things that went well. All right. And so just train your brain to see those wins. I like to do this on just like a spiritual reflective walk. I'll go on a walk and I'll just ask myself, like, how has God shown up these past couple of days? Or what things can I be grateful for? Or like, what can I be proud of how I played my part? Right? Is there anybody in my life that's doing great things that I can pray for and be thankful for and celebrate? Challenge limiting beliefs. I do this probably once a week. This helps so much, right? And so write down a scarcity-based thought and reframe it. For example, very simple example here, but I'll never earn enough. Abundance would be, no, I'm developing the skills to earn more every day. It's just a simple reframe. And again, some of this might seem elementary, but good. Like I said, finances doesn't have to be quantum physics, right? Like sometimes it could be just small tweaks, crack big saves, right? And the majority of sustainable, I think, integrous success is just a culmination of some very small, simple actions that have just consistently done over time that add up to a great result. Right? And I've really truthfully found that with your finances to be true. Another thing here is just surround yourself with abundant thinkers, right? Be intentional about your environment. The people around you really affect your mindset. This is so super true, especially when it comes to money. Like start just from a non-judgmental way, just observing how people are talking about money around you, right? How they're approaching that topic, how they're thinking about that, like, and do your best to build proper boundaries. Unfortunately, my wife and I, we both come from, I think, a lower middle class mindset family at best. And when we're around our families, I'm exhausted, after a couple hours, just not because we not because we don't love them, but just their outlook on life and success and just the things that they comment about money sometimes. And so not to say to cut everybody off, but instead do your best to be around other people that you want to think like, this group being one of them. A lot of people are signing up from the wealth building workshop last night. And I told them, you guys might not realize it now, but these group coaching calls are probably going to be the most pivotal thing for you. Because there's nobody walking and talking and acting and giving off energy like this around money, probably in your normal everyday space. Right. And so being around that, like, it's so super cliche, but it's so true that like you are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. All right. And so last couple of things here is like exercise and eat healthy. I'm just finding this trend, and like, the guys that I really look up to that are just incredible men of God, that are great husbands, great family members, great dads, incredibly successful business owners. They all just happen to be in really good shape. Right. And it's a common trend. And I'm not shunning anybody that's not like, this dad bod over here has got to go that I've worked on the past couple of years. Right. And so like, I'm not over here saying that I'm in incredible shape, but when I have been, I realized the biggest thing is that vitality is so super important for success, right? Like energy, right? You need to have energy, right, to be able to function optimally. Another thing too is just ground yourself in the morning in God or whatever spiritual practices that you believe in and want to practice, right? Like we have to kind of surrender to our way, right? This is my biggest struggle. I'll wake up some mornings and I'll jump right into work, right? And that's horrible, right? Like my energy's all off. I'm hustling. I'm bringing nobody closer to God. I got this icky feeling in me, right? And so like really just getting grounded in the morning so you can make sound quality decisions throughout the day, particularly around your finances, right? And some of these things up here, like some of these celebration wins, right? Some of these journal types of prompts here, some of these things can be blended together, right? And so again, I know a lot of this isn't new information to a lot of people, nothing crazy, but like I think doing well with your finances has a heck of a lot more to do with than just numbers and spreadsheets. Right? It's not a quick fix, right? Your wealth will never outgrow the steward behind you or behind it, excuse me. All right. So it's just kind of the angle that I'm taking here. All right. And so let's talk through this a little bit further here, right? How does an abundant mindset grow your wealth? It literally directly impacts it. Directly impacts it. Right. And why is because an abundant mindset encourages you to think bigger about what's possible for your income. Instead of settling for average, you pursue higher paying opportunities, negotiate your worth, and explore scalable income streams. This mindset shifts your focus from surviving to thriving, leading to higher income potential over time. An abundant mindset creates the confidence and vision to pursue larger opportunities. You'll attract and earn more when you believe it's possible and act on that belief. I see this in my own situation day in and day out. Like I was in a little bit more of a scarcity mindset the last event that we did back in February. And I think we had, I don't know, like 70 people signed up. My energy and just my mindset over the past couple of months has just been tremendously better. We literally had 300 people sign up for this most recent one, right? I don't think that's any coincidence. And I think this is a strong reason for that. Like was believing in myself and what was possible and what we could do. And that showed up numerically as a result. Right? A lot of times income is just a direct correlation, right, of the beliefs that we're having and caring about what's possible. And big earnings require big thinking. By stepping into abundance, you naturally unlock the creativity and drive needed to outpace average incomes. An abundant mindset helps attract wealth by fundamentally reshaping how you view opportunities, relationships, and risks, right? And so I'm just gonna, I don't want to say breeze through these. There's a couple of examples here. I'm gonna walk through them and then we'll open up for some Q&A and some shares. All right. So here are some specific ways this mindset makes a difference. And bear with me as I probably just read off all of these. All right. And then maybe add a note or two. All right. And so it opens your eyes to opportunities. Right. I'm already not even reading off of this, but one of my favorite books is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Right. And he talks about when you increase your financial literacy, you're going to increase your eyes for opportunity. Right. And so with an abundant mindset, you see possibilities where others see limitations. Right. Instead of focusing on what's missing, on what can be gained or curated, this shift leads you to pursue ventures, ideas, and collaborations that generate wealth. Abundance helps you recognize opportunities that others overlook. For instance, instead of seeing a saturated market as a barrier, you view it as proof of demand and position yourself to meet that demand uniquely. Right. That's a really good one. Right. Sorry, I just got a note that my internet's unstable. But for instance, instead of seeing a saturated market as a barrier, you view it as proof of demand and position yourself to meet that demand uniquely. All right. Number two, right, builds confidence to act. Right. I think this is a great skill to have as a faithful steward. I told the group last night, I said, don't pray to God for opportunities and deny him when he comes knocking. Right. Or financially, right? Like God's not going to drop $1 million on your front doorstep. Instead, he's going to open up a door that you have to faithfully walk through. Right. And so believing that opportunities are plentiful reduced fear of failure. When you know there's another chance, you're more than willing to take risks, such as asking for a raise, starting a business, or investing in new skills. Action driven by confidence is essential for wealth building. All right. I love this. Action driven by confidence is essential for wealth building. All right. Attracts like-minded people. Right. Positivity and a belief in abundance draw similar people into your life. These connections often open doors to new opportunities, be it a mentor, a business partner, or a client. Success is rarely achieved alone, and an abundant mindset helps you build a network that supports your financial goals. I see this as a perfect example with the event that we ran yesterday. A big reason for our success, right, is the ads team that we're working with. They're absolutely incredible. Like the real deal, the absolute real deal. They're a pretty penny to work with, but it's worth every dollar. Right. And they just came into my life almost, I won't say randomly, but the connection was so on time, so divine, and just not a coincidence. Right. And it just opened up some massive doors for us. All right, a couple more here. Shift your focus to value creation. Right. People with an abundant mindset focus on solving problems, improving lives, and adding value. Right. So right here, people pay for solutions, right? And at times I will talk to you guys about income, right? I always say income is step 3 in our 4-step process for financial freedom. Like before we can talk about making more money, we got to learn how to manage your current situation correctly. But what I have found that is income is just the byproduct of impact. And impact comes from being a person or a business of value, right? That means that you have an incredible solution to a major problem, right? Think about Amazon Prime, right? There is a big problem, quote unquote, I'll say, in the United States where people are impatient and they don't want to go anywhere, right? And so Amazon Prime solved that by giving 2-day delivery, right? Multi-billion-dollar idea, right? This perspective naturally leads to wealth because money flows to those who create impact and offer solutions, right? Money flows to those who create impact and offer solutions, right? I always hear this download from God, right? Believing in abundance motivates you to invest in yourself, whether by learning new skills, hiring a coach, or acquiring certifications that allow you to charge more for your time or services. And then number 5 and number 6, right? Cultivates gratitude and contentment, right? You guys can read this here, but the biggest thing is it's really, really hard, right? To attract a better situation, attract more blessings if we're not grateful for what we already have. It just doesn't add up, right? And so I've heard this before. Robin Sharma, who's one of my favorite authors, you guys have probably heard me say this multiple times, but in one of his most recent books, I don't know where it is, somewhere around here. There's a chapter that says gratitude is an ATM, right? Beautiful quote. Again, I want to back up here when I say that we need to do these things like manage your money better, be more grateful, be a better steward, and that it could possibly open up more doors, possibly be an ATM. I'm not saying that's our main motive for doing them. That's prosperity gospel. Like go and honor God, right? So you can make more money. Like it's not what I'm saying, right? But at the same point though, like it's okay to understand that those are good probabilities as direct side effects of what could happen, right? As we're more grateful for our situation and being better stewards. All right. Last thing here, or now 2 things. I mean, I'll lie to you. Never mind. 3 things. I swore it ended at 6. All right. But you set bigger goals. An abundant mindset removes self-imposed limitations and encourages you to aim higher in your career or business. We kind of see this when people first come to us and Brittany's talking to them about their goals. And it's like, they're good, they're quality. But after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months with us, they're usually kind of readjusting those, right? In a really healthy, good way. When you believe that wealth is achievable and plentiful, you set bold income goals that naturally push you towards higher earnings, right? I always say money is abundant. It really is. Money is abundant. It is not restrictive. It's not limited, right? And so believing that not only it's possible, but that you're worthy of it. Number 7, one of my favorite things to do, like, I think this is a big part of my story. I've always taken calculated risks, right? Instead of playing it safe or settling for good enough, you feel empowered to take risk, such as pursuing a higher paying job, launching a business, or investing in opportunities. These actions often lead to larger financial returns, right? Calculated risk is obviously taking a chance on something, but knowing that the rewards outweigh the risk, and then also being aware of the risk and creating plans to mitigate it if we can. All right, it's kind of how I see calculated risk. All right. And then you shift to scalable income models, right? Instead of trading your time for money, you focus on creating income streams that grow without needing constant effort, such as digital products, investments, or business systems. This can shift dramatically and increase earnings. Again, a little bit more, a better of an example, right? Becky Clark, who's here, perfect example of this. I put money into ads, right? I have somebody that's in my DMs. Well, actually, she booked herself, but usually we would DM you and it's somebody acting as if they're me in the best way possible, really good dude, right? And then he books you to his calendar, Aaron, and then talks you through the program, closes you, and you come in. And technically, I didn't really do anything, right? Now that I have 2 kids basically under 1 right now, I'm not playing a ton of golf, but the best thing is when I'm out on the golf course and a Stripe notification comes through from somebody signing up, and I had no idea they were even taking a call with Aaron or Steph that day, right? And so just thinking that, what I would call this shift would be turning your money from transactional to linear, right? Transactional is like you're only making money if you're putting in time and energy, right? Or that would be linear, excuse me, or transactional, right? You're only making money. Your money's linear, which means that like the only time you can make money is if you put in time and energy. Creating exponential money just means that like you don't have to put in time and energy, right, to make money. You can be out on the golf course and have money coming through, right? And so just last point there, right? And last couple of things, and then we'll open it up. By integrating these principles into your daily life, you'll start noticing how the combination of belief, action, and connection creates a ripple effect, drawing opportunities and financial abundance towards you. Like I did a podcast episode the other day. It's like God didn't create us to chase wealth, He created us to attract it. Right. And in essence, an abundant mindset rewires your behaviors and choices, enabling you to think, act, and position yourself for opportunities that result in a higher income. It's not just about thinking positively, it's about making decisions aligned with the belief that greater financial rewards are possible and within your reach. And so I know this is a little bit of talking at you, a little bit of reading off the paper. I always use my lesson plans as bumpers and airbags so I don't get too out of control. But let me back up here real quick, right, and recap. So today's lesson was called Your Mindset Matters Most, right? I wanted to show you today how your mindset directly impacts your money, particularly the amount of money you can earn and accumulate. So if you think that objective was achieved today, drop the word yes in the comments for me and we'll open up a little bit. Awesome. Okay, great. Great. Cool. Okay. Takeaways, questions. One thing that you're going to take away here from today, or one thing that you want to work on embodying more than instead of just intellectualizing.
Quick question. Can you go back to the quote of your mind isn't built for wealth?
Oh, I got you. I'm happy you picked up on that one.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. This one right here. So if your mind isn't built for wealth, no strategy will ever be enough to keep it. So true, right? And just a little bit of add on to that, strategy gives you direction, but mindset determines your capacity. Your financial life will only rise to the level of what you believe is possible. Julie, Aaron, anybody, Phil, if you're able to hop on, maybe just your biggest takeaway. We'll start there. No questions needed. You don't have one. I know today's not really one that you take questions away from, more so just get your wheels turning around.
I loved words or spells. I haven't heard it that way before. That is pretty genius.
Yeah. Steph, so she's Aaron's counterpart. So like they do the same thing. So you met with Aaron, but you'll probably see Steph around enter meter at one point. And every time someone starts talking negatively, she's like, words or spells. It's so true. It's because you kind of get what you focus on. And like the more you're saying something, the more you're increasing the odds of it becoming your reality or staying your reality. So being very conscious with your words. And excuse me, I apologize. The book of Proverbs, right? I tell people no matter what you believe in, that's a great book, and because it's proven to be true, written by King Solomon, who is the richest person to ever live. If he was alive today, he'd be worth $1.3 trillion, right? With a T. And Elon Musk, who I believe right now is the richest person alive, is worth about 500 billion. So that means King Solomon would be worth almost 3 times as much as Elon Musk. And in Proverbs, he talks about all the time how words are super important, right? Like or your tongue, like watch your mouth, watch the things that you say for many different reasons. But, the more that you speak something, the more you increase the odds of it either staying your reality or becoming your reality. And so again, though, watch yourself, everybody on here, from a non-judgmental way, and other people too, right? A non-judgmental way, like, ooh, there I go again. That's okay though. I'm gonna work on that, right? Type of approach.
I have kind of a question.
Yeah, man. What's going on? How are you?
What's up, bro? I'm great, man.
Good to see you.
It's good to
Good
be
to see
here.
you.
It's a
What's
great
going on?
topic. It's a really cool topic, and I'm glad I jumped in today because it brought me to the thought of intentionally building my, and I wanted to kind of ask about that. What do you do to really change when you said you go for a walk, right? Like, I get that. Like, I think it's also in Proverbs, as a man thinks, so he is, right? So all this stuff that's deep down in us that controls our perception, our beliefs, it's stuff on a deep level. And so cultivating a mindset that believes in abundance, that is open to receive abundance, that doesn't limit itself by making choices that go against abundance. We can all increase our capacity for more as we learn to manage it. And so but what are you doing specifically like I have meditation time where I really cultivate certain things that I realize I need in my consciousness, in my intention. So
Yeah.
is there any specific things that you use around wealth and money and growing?
Yeah, it's a great question. Great question. So a couple of things come to mind here. One, are you working with Jake right now, Philip?
Yeah.
You are. Okay, cool. So this is going to be a little helpful here. This is, I'm going to create a little, I guess, a little flow chart here, right? And then answer a little more specifically. So I have realized that to really, really get to the core of things, let me just build this out here, right, real quick. I have it somewhere, but all right. So problems, experiences, beliefs, and behaviors, and then realities. Right. And so I've found that our reality is just a direct correlation to our behaviors. Obviously, our actions create the reality, which are a direct correlation to the beliefs. And these beliefs were formed through the traumas and experiences in life. And so a simple question I'll ask myself is, what happened, or why am I the way I am, especially when it comes to money? Right? Or another way to ask this, what happened to me that makes me believe the things I do around money? And so a lot of you guys know, but my parents filed for bankruptcy for the second time when I was 10 years old, and we literally lost everything. And so I still carry a lot of trauma around that. Right. But I'm able to mitigate it, overcome it, and handle it to the best of my ability because now I truthfully understand the answers to these questions. I truthfully understand what happened to me that are creating these beliefs. Right. And so this is how you really get to the core of the problem. Right. It's just really asking yourself, why am I the way I am, especially when it comes to money? And what happened to me that makes me believe the things that I do around money? And I could go into my own story, which I'm not going to sit here and talk about that a ton, but everybody has their own, right? This was probably, it's deep work. It's tough work. It's tough to talk about. But as Jake always says too, he asked me, he's like, well, what's the most important work right now? Right? And it might be uncovering what actually happened to you that led to this. So that's the first thing that has been really helpful, just like get to the core of things. And then the other thing is, when I go on my walks, right, I'll leave my phone at home and I tell myself there's nothing too small, too scarce, too stupid, or too whatever to bring to God. Right. And I've recently went through a devotional and it said that like God would rather have you come to him frustrated and scared than not at all. Right. And sometimes I'm like, well, like I'm gonna come at him like I'm scared and like I'm not trusting him, like I'm not being a good steward. It's like that doesn't matter, right? Like I love the quote, the more that the darkness is talked about in safe spaces, the less control it has over you. Right. And so just getting vulnerable and truthful, I think true financial transformation starts with true financial honesty. All right. And so again, I've got plenty more I can hit you with, but just what'd you hear from there? Was that helpful? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think, the idea of bringing things to consciousness to recognize the forces that they have or the influence they have gives you that ability to overcome it, maybe. Is that so? That's kind of where I'm taking it to. Like when
Absolutely.
you
That's exactly.
recognize, like, I have this tendency because of this, therefore, being conscious of that, I choose then, because that's where I was kind of going is like, is there something that you focus on? Like the idea that money is abundant, right? Money is abundance. There's always more than enough. I can always access more than enough. I can always make the moves that are going to bring the abundance into my life. I can make these choices. I have that belief in myself. So on one side, you're saying I'm balancing that with understanding why sometimes I don't operate in the mindset that I want to. So I was kind of asking a little bit more about cultivating, but I love this answer too because it brings in kind of the hidden side. It's like, what's the point of cultivating a strong mindset when you're not aware of the under the surface forces that are maybe going to sabotage you, even if you do prop up these things. So
Exactly, dude. Like, I think you made a really good point. It's not that like I love my meditations and my breath works and all of those things, but like those are just kind of band-aids over the real problems if we're not getting to the core of what's going on here, right? It's kind of treating symptoms instead of solving it. Right. Again, not against it, right? But those are, I think that's just brilliant what you said there. I had another thought for you, Phil. Give me 1 second. This old man brain. Um, shoot, it'll come to me. It'll come to me. Um, but I think just this is a great conversation because it starts with the awareness of like what's really going on here, right? What's really going on here? And I think the other thing to remember too is like transformation doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a clean jump, especially when it comes to your finances, because we're not even trying to rewire your life, right? Like this is generations of issues usually passed down when it comes to some people's financial problems, right? And so be patient and graceful with yourself, right? But here's one other quote that I'll give you a question, right? That this is something that I ponder often on my walks, right? Is what does the healthy balance of surrender and self-reliance look like when it comes to my money? Right? Like, how do I play my part? Right. But at the same time, not try to play God. How do I play my part without hypervigilant doing or being neurotic? Right. Like, what's that healthy balance of surrender and self-reliance look like when it comes to my money? Because we also can't just, when we say surrender, it's like, all right, God, I'm gonna sit on the couch every day, eat some Cheetos, and do nothing with my money. You go take care of the rest. Like, that's usually not it, right? But trying to control everything from, hypervigilant doing and being neurotic, that's also what's that happy medium is what this question is. And nothing for you to answer, just something for you to ponder here. Does that make sense, Phil?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a really good question. And it comes down to, I think, some core things that we need to build up in ourselves, because I've been in places where I felt like what I did didn't make a difference.
Mm.
And that's not necessarily a very healthy way to think, but I found myself there before and found myself feeling like, why try? Because I've been banging my head against this wall for so long. And it's like, okay, I'm taking a step back. Maybe I'm not doing the right things. Maybe there's some other things. And that's really what, I've been on this journey myself as a business owner, and as somebody who's been in my industry for a really long time. I've had a lot of success. And then, I've also experienced plateaus, and I've experienced uh, extreme resistance to further success. And when I've tried to move into other, just call it other markets or other areas of my business. And so that's a really good question that gets like, there's a balance between like relying on myself to show up and do the work, and then one side, it's like maybe if you're meeting so much resistance, there's something not happening in the surrender side, right? Like there's something that I am holding on to, a meaning, a story, a trauma that I'm not even thinking about, and that's showing up in a way that I'm not. So it's an awesome question.
Okay, great, dude. I love that. I love that. And the last thing that I'll share here too, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, was a lot of times like when it comes to like avoidance, I don't know about you guys, but I'm an avoider. Especially sometimes when it comes to the finances. And so, I just asked myself, like, why do I avoid? Right. And I have found that the reason is because when I'm avoiding like the budget and the numbers, it's because I'm scared to log in and see spending habits like my dad had when we lost it all when I was 10 years old. And once I got comfortable, once I knew that, right, it didn't impact me as much, let alone hold me back. I don't really avoid because of that anymore right now because I'm aware of that. And so I always hear people say, I just got to be more disciplined with my money. And I'm like, maybe, maybe, but if you just figure out while you're avoiding, right, inherently you'll just become more disciplined. Right. So a couple of thoughts there, Phil. I appreciate you, man. We love you, man. We love working with you. You're such a good human being, and just like your transparency and your vulnerability and your willingness to be here and to continue to be honest about where you're at. It's admirable, dude. And I know the girls love working with you, and I love to see you here. So thank you for popping in, dude.
Thanks for responding with that. It's cool. Good feedback.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Here if you need anything. All right. Jules, you wanna hop in?
Sure. I think what I appreciated a lot about today was just the embodied focus, as you would know. I like that very much. But I think that was what helped me, was actually bringing it into the body, which I'd never really thought of. Well, let me think what my body does when I think about money. who thinks
Mhm.
that way? Like, not many people do. They just think I need to think about all this stuff, right? Well, exactly, Britt. I mean, I did too forever. It was all brain, it was all the mind. But once I started noticing my physical responses when it came to money, I started thinking, if money was a person and I was reacting this way to that person, how would money respond? And it helped me so freaking
Mm.
much to be able to go, well, they'd run away, or they'd be like, I don't want to have anything to do with you, or whatever. And so it was so unbelievably helpful for me to actually feel it. And once I started noticing that and actually being with the sensations, like whatever they were, it was definitely like, I remember the first time going through this back last year when I got a tax bill, and my reaction was so like, all right, I'll be fine. Whereas a
Mm.
year ago, I immediately, like 2 years ago when it happened, I started sobbing, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, like freaking out. And so I was like, huh, well, there's a change here. What happened? And I think it was because I allowed myself the space to experience money,
Mm.
not to, almost like in a real, well, it is in a relationship. There is no almost, like
Yeah.
the reason we
Yes.
have a great relationship with God, or for me personally, is because I allow myself to experience him. I allow myself to be with him. And so when I started doing that for money, the same thing happened. Like it was
Mm.
almost this, in not the love of money is the problem, but there was this love that I had for its ability in my life. Like there's a reason it's there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I think that's my biggest takeaway from what you just talked about, was learning how it shows up in our body, because
Yeah.
that will tell us something.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I think a lot of times, and really a lot of things, anything in life, or a lot of things in life, like you can gain a physical feeling from, what's happening in the direction that's giving you. And this even from like, an abundance standpoint, like I know that feeling that I get when something's right immediately, but I also know that it only lasts for a couple of seconds, only lasts for a couple of minutes, right? You guys have probably been to a conference before where you leave all jacked up, right? And like, this feels so right? But that feeling only lasts for a couple of minutes. It doesn't mean that it's not true anymore. It's just that just how we learn how to, I guess, pay attention to our body in anything in life, but really when it does come to finances. And so I'm happy that that was something that stood out to you, because you know, I'll be walking throughout the day and something will pop up and I'll feel it. And I'm like, yep, this is a financial something here. So awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You can add something, Sarah. Of course.
I just want to add something too, being that I've been here for a little while. Becca and I were just talking about this too, and Britt. In everything, I just want to say too, whether you're new, whether you've been here for a while, everything is based on time, right? The more we do things, the more we repeat these
Good.
patterns, the more that we step into this. And a lot of us that have seen success, it wasn't necessarily overnight. Like I said it earlier, like I'm still stewarding these lessons and still seeing the ripple effect, even currently in my own life. And I just want to encourage you that sometimes you just have to like stick with it. It's kind of like going to the gym. If you go to the gym every day for like 30 days and you look in the mirror and you're like, well, I don't really see any difference. But if you just stick with it, then all of a sudden you're going to start seeing what it is that you're seeking, and your thought process is going to change, and you're going to prove to yourself that you're capable of sticking through something. It's not just about what you're seeing in the mirror, right? It's about sticking with something and saying like, I actually am capable of sticking to a plan. So there's a lot of transition that will happen that you're not even like, you're sitting there looking in the mirror for this reflection to be different, but actually there's other aspects that you weren't even planning to change and prove to yourself in that process. So I just want to say like that's part of it too, whether you're in this program, whether you graduate and spread your wings and fly like some of our friends have, regardless of what it is, if you can stick with what you're learning and stick with the process, it will continue to have those blessings in your life over and over again.
Great. Like, I think a lot of times people are just looking for a quick fix with the finances. Like, let me just get this system and be out of sight, out of mind. It's like, yeah, it's a relationship. Like, think about it like with, like what Sarah said is spot on, but think about with like your significant other, right? Like, would you just implement a system right? And then out of sight, out of mind them and expect to get best results. It's like, no, like you're gonna have to be interacting with them on a healthy basis, on a daily basis, right? For the rest of your life, right? Whether we like it or not, money ain't going nowhere. It's just getting probably more and more important each day, right? And so we have two choices: have a good relationship with it or not. But at the same time, it does take time to bridge that gap. Right? It does take time to bridge that gap. And so, Sarah, I think that's incredible insight. So thank you for that. We'll wrap up here. I actually got a call with Andrew Fisk right after this. He's hopping back into the Good Steward, by the way, which is going to be awesome. And so Andrew will be back. So I got a one-on-one with him here. But anyways, not here nor there. Just a little bit of celebration. Andrew will probably be back. But all right, great lesson here today. We have an array of systems and strategies and tactics and numbers, and we will go over that, right? We will go over that. But I like to keep the healthy blend where, like, all right, we got 2 lessons around the strategies this month and 2 lessons around the internal world, right? So we can really take that holistic approach that truthfully gets long-term results if you stick with it. So anyways, I hope you all enjoyed today. I hope you guys have a great weekend. See you next week.